Hi there, welcome to my 5,000 subscriber special, and I'm revisiting the site of my very first video. So 4 years ago I visited Black Clough Waterfall to film my first ever vlog. Now 4 years later I'm up to 5,000 subscribers and I really can't believe I've reached that milestone. It's thanks to everybody that watches my videos that has pushed me up to that great milestone, and I'm really grateful to each and every one of you. So what I plan to do in this video is show you some clips from that first video and highlight some of the mistakes I made, and hopefully you might even be able to spot some of the improvements I've made in my presentation style. I'm going to go back to the waterfall, which is up a path through a woodland, so I'm going to keep an eye out for any shots that I can take on the way of this river and any autumn colours that I spot, but I know that I'm really going to enjoy my photography. One of the things that I did in that first video that I don't do anymore was filming in the car on the way here. Now that's something that I don't do anymore because it's really dangerous, but this is my very first piece to camera.
Morning. So I've decided to take the plunge today and set off with my new camera. It's what time is it? It's about 6 o'clock and I've planned in a waterfall shoot this morning.
So when I look back on those early videos, it's really noticeable that the presentation style is quite stilted and quite flat, and in a lot of ways it's a little bit embarrassing.
Okay, so I've arrived at location. I'm at Black Clough Falls, just to the other side of Glossop, on the Woodhead Pass. As you've seen from the journey over, I did get actually some really nice light, but it only lasted for about 2 minutes. But I'm not disappointed because I didn't come here to take landscapes, I came here for the waterfalls. And so if I just spin you around and show you where I am, you can see that I'm here, and somewhere down there is where I'm going to head for the waterfall. Now, one of the other mistakes that I made as a new YouTuber was filming far too much B-roll, and those are the bits in between the main talky bits where you walk from one place to the other and just film the scenery. It does help to connect the video together to make it interesting, but because I filmed so much of it, loads of footage on the way over in the car and pieces of me walking backwards and forwards, what I did is I ran the battery down in the vlogging camera, and because I was a YouTube rookie, I only had one battery with me for my vlogging camera, so I ended up finishing the video on my phone. Okay, so I've got a little bit up the path, but a little bit of a schoolboy error here. I think this comes down to lack of planning. I've come to a bit of an inaccessible path of a spin you round. It becomes just past there really steep, and I'm not sure that's where the path goes. It appears that there might be some kind of path over in that direction, but then I've got to wade through the river.
So this is the location of my first major mistake. From reading the guidebook, it seemed to indicate that I take that path there. Now, it seemed a little bit counterintuitive because the river is on my left-hand side now, and that path took me away from the river when I was trying to find the waterfall. So I'd left the guidebook in the car, so I had to go back to the car to double check. So at that point it started hammering it down with rain as well, so I had to come back out in a real downpour, but the guidebook did really seem to say go up that path there, and so I ended up on the top of the hill miles away. And when I got on the top, I did manage to get a signal from Google, and that said I should have been on the complete opposite side of the valley, so I had to come all the way back down and work out how I could cross the river.
Still not much luck finding this waterfall. I've managed to get a signal now. I've come up high, and so I've looked on Google Earth, and it appears that I need to be way over there. So I'm in completely the wrong place.
So I've crossed the river on the way up to the waterfall, but I've just come across these wonderful red mushrooms and I couldn't resist stopping and taking a photograph of them. Now I haven't got my macro lens with me today, but what I've done is I've done a focus stack and I've done quite a narrow aperture f13 to give me quite a good depth of field, because one of the things I found the other week when I did my mushroom shoot and focus stacked is I hadn't quite got enough space between the images, and some of them really struggled in the focus stack. So I've given myself lots of images with quite a large depth of field, so I should have plenty of information to get a good focus stack from this image. Now it is a really good job that I've been before, because this is a ravine that leads to the waterfall, and when I came last time it was March, and so all of this bracken had completely died off and the path was a lot more visible. Now I'm really going to have to battle my way up this gorge to actually find it, and I think if I'd have come today without knowing where the location was, I never would have thought to come up this ravine. I came here to do a proper job of filming this waterfall, and I've made almost the same error that I made 4 years ago. That ravine that you've just seen me walking through, the reason why there wasn't an obvious path and it was covered with bracken is because it wasn't the actual ravine I needed to be going up. My aging memory and the passage of 4 years made me forget which ravine I should go up. I went up the one opposite where I crossed the river, and I should have walked along the riverbank a little bit more, and this is the actual ravine. Now, when I've got to this place, there are bits about it that are starting to ring a bell, so I know I'm now in the right place. But the further I walked up that other ravine, the more treacherous it became, and the more I realised I was in the wrong place. So luckily I came back safely, but at one point it was getting a bit hairy, so I didn't film it, but let's go up to the waterfall. This is a really big difference from visiting here my first time. I'm much more relaxed about filming because I know I've got plenty of battery life, and when I see a location like this I have to stop and try and take a photograph. Now it's not always easy trying to find good compositions in places like this, so what I've done in this particular place is I've used this rock just down here as a foreground interest, and then I've used these waterfalls just here going back into the scene, and just to make sure it's really sharp I've done a focus stack as well. So I've taken a photograph of the rock in focus, and then I've taken a shot further up the ravine of the waterfalls, and I'll combine them together when I get into Photoshop just to make sure everything's completely in focus. I finally made it to the waterfall, and once I was on the right path it wasn't very difficult, other than stopping every so often to take photographs of the waterfall. Now, do I regret going up the wrong path? A little bit, because it's wasted some time, but I wouldn't have seen the red mushrooms otherwise, and as the great Bob Ross once said, there are no mistakes, there are just happy little accidents. The challenge now is to find a good location to take a photograph of this waterfall. I'm going to try some different angles, some different shutter speeds, just to try and show it off. And also, I'm going to keep in mind that I'm next to water with camera equipment, because my track record of camera equipment next to water is not great. Well, I've just had an unexpected request. I was taking a few drone shots of the waterfall, and a girl came up to me called Gemma Rosenthal and asked me to take some shots of her because she was filming a music video of all things. So I was happy to oblige. We've got some shots. I'll show you a few now, and I'll put a link to her YouTube channel down below in the description.
So I'm going to talk you through now some of the ideas I was thinking about regarding composition. Now this first image I chose because of this interesting bit of rock in the foreground that has some bracken growing out of it. But this is purposely set up to be a bad composition because all of the interest is on the left hand side, and on the right hand side there's very little that is adding to the image, so the whole thing feels very unbalanced. Now if you compare it to this image, what I've done is I've moved the camera only about 3 or 4 feet to the left, but that puts the rock on the right hand side and the waterfall on the left hand side, and the rock also acts like a leading line towards the waterfall, so it's much more effective. While I was here, I also tried some different shutter speeds, so this was taken on a much faster shutter speed to freeze the water. Now in an upcoming video that I took a few months ago that I haven't released yet, I did some experimenting with moving water to try and find out which shutter speed I liked the best for moving water, and in that video I actually found out that the shutter speed that is most attractive to me is 1/8 of a second, but everybody has different opinions when it comes to moving water. Some people will prefer the image on the right, which is completely frozen and you can see all the droplets, and some people will prefer the one on the left. Let me know which one you prefer.
This position where I am now looks more precarious than it actually is. It was just a little bit tricky getting across because there are some patches in the water where the rocks are actually really quite slippery, but mostly there's quite a lot of grip, and I don't have any worries about my tripod being on the rock in the river because what I've got is some screw feet on the bottom of the tripod, and so I can screw the rubbers away and leave points exposed, and so it's really rock solid gripping onto the rock, because what it's enabled me to do is take a picture of a rock that's right in the middle of the river with the waterfall in the background, and so the water is flowing around it and it makes for an interesting bit of foreground. So I've just taken a shot of this composition here with the waterfall in the background and then this bit of a run stroke waterfall in the foreground. Now all of the interest was in the top half of the image because I'd got the camera in portrait orientation, but I did that on purpose knowing that I would cut the bottom off and present the image in more of a square format. So it is worth thinking about that when you're taking your images, how you're ultimately going to present them, because I knew all of the interest was in the top half, but it didn't matter because the bottom half is just going to disappear. That's the end of my 5,000 subscriber special revisit to Black Clough Waterfall. I hope you've enjoyed this video, seeing some of the old footage and seeing it filmed again and photographed in a little bit more of an effective way, hopefully. Now, if taking photographs of waterfalls and moving water really interests you, then make sure you keep an eye out for my moving water video that's coming up in a few weeks. Well, I just want to say another great big thank you to everybody that has clicked the subscribe button and got me to 5,000 subscribers. It means so much to me that you enjoy what I do here on the channel, and all of the comments that I get are so heartwarming. If you want to say anything, leave your comments down below or nip over to my Vero account, that's at Oakden Photography. You can leave me your comments there and you can also see lots of my photographs. Now if you like what I do on the channel and want to help support me to make future content like this, then you can also visit my Teespring store. There I've got a range of merchandise on offer, and a purchase really helps me to continue to make great quality content. And don't forget the super thanks button, but you don't have to spend any money at all to support the channel. You can do that simply by clicking like, subscribe and the bell notifications, because that really helps me out and it makes sure that you don't miss out on any future content. Watch out for next week's video, that goes live on Sunday. In the meantime, you can go and check out this video just up here, but all that's left now is to say stay safe and I'll see you soon.